All right, my friends, good. Welcome back. Let's knock out the rest of Unit 2 real quick here. Shouldn't take as long as the first half, so I'm hoping closer to 15, 20 minutes instead of that big 30-minute video for you guys. But we're going to start with 2.8 is where we left off, and so that's the judicial branch. The judicial branch, remember, the structure for that's going to be found in Article 3 of our Constitution. And it doesn't say a lot. We actually find out more about what the founding fathers expected from our judicial branch from Fed 78. Remember, Fed 78 is going to be another one of our documents. So Fed 70, unitary, single, speedy, executive. Fed 78 is going to talk about judicial review. Fed 78 is going to talk about the importance of that lifetime term and why not to fear that lifetime term, right? Okay, remember the reason for that is so that we have an independent judiciary. We don't want the judges to be beholden to the Congress. We don't want them beholden to the president. We definitely don't want them beholden to the voters. We want them to be able to make fair, impartial, referee, umpire type decisions, okay? And so that's what we're looking at with Fed 78 is it's going to look at, it's going to kind of set up judicial review, and it's going to kind of set up why that independent judiciary is so crucial to our nation. So remember, judicial review is not found in our Constitution. It is given to the court by the courts in Madison versus Marbury. So remember, there's a weird way of kind of a circular logic here that's going to happen here. And so remember that we've got Madison is refusing to give Marbury his post. Right? And so we had all these midnight appointments by Adams. Jefferson takes office, and Madison is going to refuse Madison's the secretary. He's going to refuse to issue the writ of mandamuses for these secretaries. So Marbury's mad, of course. He thinks he has this cushy job, and now he doesn't. And so he asks the Supreme Court to order him. Supreme Court looks at it and says, you know what? We think that you deserve this. We think that you are right to come to us, and oh yeah, we can't give this to you because the law that says that we can give this to you would give too much power to us. And since we can't take that power would be going above the Constitution. If that power is written into the Constitution, we'll gladly do this for you. But it's not, and therefore we cannot do this, and that law is invalid. So what happens? What actually happens here is they say, you got to follow me a little bit here. They say, we are going to say that we cannot, we are given, okay, let me start again. The Supreme Court is given the power by the Congress to order this writ. They said the Congress did not have the power to give the Supreme Court the power. Therefore, they can't use the power. And in saying they can't use the power and nullifying that law, they're giving themselves that power of judicial review, much more broad power than this writ. And so by saying you can't give us the power, they're giving themselves the power. So like I said, this circular logic here is what's going on there. But that's how judicial review gets to the judicial branch. So let's see. So judicial review, what is it? It is the act of calling a law, an executive order, maybe a state law, maybe a regulation passed by the bureaucracy, saying that any of that is against the Constitution and therefore null and void. That's what we're looking at with judicial review. Okay, so the Supreme Court is often going to follow the principle of stare decisis, okay? Stare decisis is going to, it literally means let the decision stand. And so we're looking at precedent. Once a court case has been decided, remember that they're going to write these opinions. And these opinions are there in order so that future courts can see, oh, here's why they decided yes, here's why they decided no, why they decided for this person, why they decided for that person. And so what those opinions are meant to do then is in the future, if there's a court case similar, they should be decided in the same way, because you shouldn't be treated one way because this judge is on the bench, and you shouldn't be treated this way because a different judges on the bench. We want everybody to be treated fairly, okay? And so that independent judiciary. And so stare decisis is supposed to lend some legitimacy to the Supreme Court and the judicial branch in general. And so they're going to follow these precedents. Now, there's nothing that says that they have to. Stare decisis is often followed, but not always followed. We see in Plessy versus Ferguson, 50, 60 years later, it gets overturned. So the precedent says separate but equal, segregation is okay in the South. Brown versus Board of Education says, oh, no, not true. And so they can overrule precedent. And so we see that happen from time to time. And remember, that's going to be an activist court, which I believe is in my notes here for 2.11 or 12 here. So it's still coming up. Yeah, so that's what I've got for legitimacy of the court. And then the other thing about legitimacy of the court is in Fed 78, they say that, hey, the court is the least powerful by far of the three branches, and that's why it's okay for us to give lifetime terms to our judges. So their rationale is that the Congress has the power of the purse, the executive branch has the power of the sword, and therefore, and the Supreme Court has robes and some nice wigs sometimes, okay? So they said they just don't have that same oomph, that same power that the other two branches are accorded through the Constitution. And because of that, they said that these lifetime terms are going to be okay because they don't have enough power to abuse it. And then on top of that, they said, if the executive branch and the legislative branch choose to ignore their decisions, they don't have an enforcement arm, so there's nothing that the court can do about it. So the court in action is 2.10, and so we already talked about Marbury versus Madison, lifetime tenure, and they're not elected, remember, and so they are appointed to the court by the president, advice and consent by the Senate, and so remember, we've got three different types of opinions that we're going to care about. There are more than that, but these are the three that we care about. There's the opinion of the court, and that is, it was a 6-3 decision. Here's why the 6 voted the way they did to be used in future precedents, okay? A dissenting opinion, then, is going to be written by the losing team, okay? The three. There's not always one written, but there's often one written. And they will say, here's why we disagree with the majority. Here's our reasoning. And so remember, that's in Brown versus Board of Education. They're going to use parts of that dissenting opinion from Plessy. And so sometimes this does get brought back up in the future. And then our third type of opinion is going to be the concurring opinion. And a concurring opinion means I'm with the majority, I voted with them, but I have a different reason, okay? They voted yes because of this, and I voted yes as well, but that's not my reason. I voted because of this, and they wanted that on the record, okay? And so that's what we're looking at from there. Remember, we've got a couple of types of jurisdiction. We've got original jurisdiction, and we've got appellate jurisdiction. Original jurisdiction is going to be a place where the court case is heard first. They're the ones with kind of dibs on the court case. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be their district courts. And then those courts with appellate jurisdiction, remember, they are not deciding the case. They are deciding on the process of the case. So, for example, if you're tried for murder and you're found guilty and you appeal up, the appellate court or the Supreme Court, wherever this appeals landed, they are not looking at your guilt or innocence. They don't care. Okay, what they care about is were you treated properly? Were you read your Miranda? Were you accorded your attorney? Was your attorney competent? Was your trial, did you have a speedy public trial? Those kind of things. What was the process? Is the process done properly? And so that's going to be what we're talking about with appellate jurisdiction. Supreme Court can have either, but normally we see the Supreme Court as an appeals court, but with appellate jurisdiction. Okay. So checks on the judicial branch. First, we wanted to look at judicial activism, judicial restraint. So I hinted at this a couple minutes ago. So judicial activism, remember, this is a court that has no problem overturning laws. They are going to look at through judicial review. They're going to say, nope, unconstitutional. Nope, unconstitutional. A court that is practicing judicial restraint is going to be the opposite. They're going to defer to the elected branches. They're going to defer to the branch, the president, who is elected by the Electoral College through the people. And they're going to defer to the Senate and the House, who are elected directly by the people. They said, we're not elected, the court, we're not elected, and so therefore we're going to let them decide, because then if the people don't like this, they have a way to get rid of them. They can vote them out, where they can't do anything to us. And so therefore we're going to practice judicial restraint. We're not going to overturn these laws. The same would apply to overturning precedent. So an activist court would say, we're going to go in a different direction, and we're not going to practice that stare decisis, where a judicial restraint court would say, yeah, we are going to follow past precedent. Okay, so the checks on the judiciary, Congress has some checks. President has a few checks as well. So Congress, remember, first, the Senate is going to confirm any justices. So the president's going to appoint them. That's a check for the president as well. But then the Senate is going to confirm those justices. The Senate or the House can pass legislation that would go around a court decision. They could propose an amendment. So if the court says this is XYZ is against the Constitution, Congress can say, well, let's change the Constitution, and then it's not against it anymore, and so they can do that. They can change the court's jurisdiction. That's in Article 3. Remember, Article 3 only sets up the Supreme Court, and from there, Congress pretty much has carte blanche as far as the court system is concerned. They can change the number of Supreme Court justices. We've heard talk of going to 13 instead of 9. That would drastically change the look of the court. And so lots of different things there with the judiciary. The president checks, we said that he nominates them, which we already talked about. And then he can also choose not to implement the court's holdings. So the court says, this is what we're going to decide. And he goes, remember, the court has no recourse for that. They don't have an enforcement branch. So that's the judicial branch. Remember the bureaucracy then. The bureaucracy is going to be the executive branch below the president, vice president. That's a good way to think of the bureaucracy. Remember, we practice the merit system. Formerly the patronage system, but now the merit system. Patronage system, remember, hey, you worked on my campaign, here's a job. Hey, you were a big donor, here's a job. Hey, you're my best buddy from high school, here's a job. So we kind of hand out jobs willy-nilly, and they're going to change every 4 years with a new president. And so we often get people in jobs that they're not qualified for. The merit system is going to be opposite of that. You have to test into your job. You have to prove that you're able to do that. And so you're going to take what's called a civil service exam to prove I can be this person in the Defense Department, or I can be this person in the EPA, or I can whatever the job is. Okay. Remember, there's 4 types of bureaucratic agencies that we're going to care about, and remember, there's 4 questions that go along with them. So the first question is it regulating something? Okay. So is this agency regulating something? If they are, they're making regulations to try and protect the public, then that would be an independent regulatory commission. Okay, so that's the first one. Our second one, so if we answer yes, they are regulating something, we're done. Independent regulatory commission, we're done. We say no, okay? And so then the second question is, are they trying to sell me something? Okay, if they are, we're looking at a government corporation then. Government corporation is going to be a publicly owned corporation, basically. It is going to be something that the private industry can't do, or wouldn't be very profitable if they tried to do it alone. And so the post office is our number one example that we usually go to for the government corporation. So we ask, is it regulating something? No. Are they trying to sell me something? No. All right. Now I want to ask, is it a cabinet department? Okay. If it's yes, it's a cabinet department, then it's a cabinet department. Very easy. Remember, cabinet department, they're going to be major. Their major responsibility is going to be broad types of policy. So like Department of Transportation, they're going to be looking at cars and emissions, but they're also going to be looking at roads and bridges, and they're also going to be looking at the space shuttle. Like they're looking at all these different transportation, this wide range, this broad policy area. And so the cabinet departments, remember, the easiest way to decipher if they are is it department of something, or is the head of the secretary of something? The only exception to that is the Attorney General for Department of Justice. And so Is it regulating something? No. Is it a government? Are they trying to sell me something? No. Is it a cabinet department? No. Then it's an independent executive agency. It's kind of default at the end. And so they're going to perform a public service, like NASA. They're going to, like a research kind of thing, or and some kind of public service where they're kind of like I said, it's not doing one of those other three things. And so that's going to be kind of our start to the bureaucracy. The purpose of the bureaucracy, remember, if Congress decides, hey, let's build a road from Chicago to Los Angeles, we're not going to have congressmen and the president out there digging this highway out, right? They're going to assign it to the Department of Transportation, who is then going to assign it to, and they're going to have workers go out and do this. So the purpose is to enforce and to implement these laws that are passed, these policies that are passed, okay? And so three big responsibilities of a bureaucratic agency is they're going to testify before Congress in oversight hearings. They're going to, if they're a regulatory commission, they're going to pass regulations. And then if that is the case, then they are also going to have the power to penalize through usually fines. They're also going to be able to be the judge in that. So they're the judge, jury, and execution, which kind of talks a lot about they're not elected. Should they have all this power? You can get into that another time, another place. So with that said, when the bureaucratic agencies go before Congress to talk to people, talk at committees about oversight hearings, they're going to be talking to them and saying, here's what we're doing, here's how things went, here's where we intend to go. So, for example, if NASA launches this new rocket or whatever it is, I so don't know anything about space. I assume rockets get launched, but they launch some rocket and they would then report to Congress and say, here's what we were hoping to have happened. Here's what happened. Here's where we hope to go with this next. If Congress likes what they're saying, Congress has that power of the purse. They can fund their next goal, their next mission. They can continue funding. They can take away funding if they're like, this isn't going so well. We want to make sure that we're got a handle on this. So there's different directions that they could go with that power of the purse. And then finally, this is our final topic that we're going to look at then is the checks on the bureaucracy. So Congress has some checks. They have that congressional oversight and that power to budget that the power to purse through the budget that we were just talking about. They can abolish an agency. They can pass new laws that are going to direct them in a different direction. The president, he is going to be able to appoint and remove some agency heads, not all. He can issue executive orders. He can do those are two big ones. I'm not coming up with. I'm thinking there's a third one. I'm not coming up with it, but if you remember those two, you're going to be good. And then the judiciary, we've already talked about. They can rule something that the bureaucracy has done, especially bureaucratic regulations generally, as being against the Constitution and ruling them null and void. And so that's kind of Unit 2, finishing it off there with the bureaucracy and the judicial branch. We already did president and the legislative branch. Remember, we want to know, how do they interact? So like the Congress is going to pass a bill and it's going to go on to the president for signature or whatever. That the president is going to nominate somebody for the courts. The courts can rule something unconstitutional. So how are these three branches working day to day with each other? We want to definitely take note of that as you see those in your notes. So my friends, that's it for tonight. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. Be well. Maybe we'll do something for somebody else today. And I hope you have a great night. Be well.